Hey everyone, welcome to another tutorial. For today, I'm going to show you how to create this beautiful journal spread design. We will be adding and layering different elements to create this beautiful handmade effect. So the secret to a beautiful journal spread design is to use realistic paper textures, like what we'll be using paper textures as well as like crumble effect and this realistic paper torn edge. For today, we will be using my new journaling brush pack. It has a lot of different elements that will allow you to create this beautiful journal spread design. And all of the brushes, stamps, elements that I've used for this project is from that pack. So if you don't have that pack yet, I'll put the link in the description below where you can get it. For this project, it's up to you if you want to create this project exactly as how I would create it. This spread is actually a personal journal entry of a new place that I visited recently. It's called Showa Kinan Park, where I enjoyed the beautiful cherry blossoms of Japan. So if you want to create this exactly as a practice, you're welcome to do that. If you want to replace the names and the photos with something else that's more personal to you, you're welcome to do that as well. In this tutorial, I just want to share with you how you can create this interesting spread design by layering different elements. So, hope you're excited. Let's begin. I'm going to open up a new layer. I like to use screen size because the canvas is going to be fit exactly to my iPad screen size, but you're free and you're more welcome to use a different size, especially if you want to print this. Try to size or open up a canvas that's the same size as the paper where you intend to print your design. But before we start, let me just give you a quick run through of this brush pack. If you open this brush set, you'll find there a lot of brushes that are organized per category to make it easier for you to locate things. So the first category is journal page backgrounds. You have dot, square, and ruled grids. For the background, you have them in small, medium, and large, depending on what size of canvas that you're using. Next, we have the drawing and writing brushes. So you have different realistic pens and markers and writing tools for the sketches and for the actual writing of your journal entry. You also have shading brushes and stamps. So for this one, if you want to add some realistic marker or ink texture to your flat vector design, just simply stamp it with one of these and it's going to give you that very realistic instant texture. You have here alphabet and journal stamps. So you have A to Z, numbers, and A to Z as well, both in tall sans serif and uppercase serifs. And you have some positive stamp designs to add to your journal spreads. So for this one, it's presented in the alphabet separately so that you could just simply piece together whatever word that you want to add. For the next category, you have torn paper edges. You have two right here. These are brushes for you to brush your own cutout paper or erase a certain element to add like a hand torn effect to it. And you also have stamps of different shapes of hand torn paper. Next, we have page text stamps. So I noticed in journaling, we like to tear book pages or tear posters or whatever and add that to our journal spread. That's why you have here some page stamps. So these are just text, wherein you could just stamp and add to any one of these paper stamps to get that same like hand torn or like page torn element or design. Next, we have paper textures. We have two paper textures and crumple stamps. So crumple stamps is if you want to add that crumpled paper effect, simply stamp it to your element on a new layer. That's clipping mask to whatever you want to add that effect to. We also have Polaroid templates. We have square and mini template, which is a portrait shape or portrait size. Next, we have washi tapes. We love washi tapes. You want to use washi tapes to attach the different elements to our journal spread. So you have here liner. This allows you to customize like the shape and the direction while still giving it the natural like hand-torn effect of washi tape. And if you want something quick, we have some washi tape stamps available as well. And below those stamps, we have these patterns. If you want to add some designs to your washi tapes, you have a lot of patterns here to choose from. And a tip for you is if you want to use any of these patterns, try to recolor some of the elements to make your washi tapes look more interesting. And lastly, we have these ink stains and smudges. So these are stamps that will give you that really nice realistic effect of like dropping ink or like smudging ink on your journal to give that very, very beautiful rustic effect. So yeah, those are the contents of this brush pack. And we'll be using most of the brushes as we create today's journal spread. So the first thing we have to do is we need to turn our canvas into something like a page from a journal. To do that, let us start by adding like a paper texture to the background, then add the grid effect. So on layer 1, let's find the texture. So here, planner paper texture. Let's use gray for now, and then let's fill the entire page. So this is after, so this is the before and after. Okay, then after that, on a new layer, let's go all the way up and add that journal page background. So I think I want to use dot grid. So, and I want the dot grid to have like a tan color, something like this. Color it like that. Okay, it feels a bit too strong, so let me just bring the opacity down. There. Next is we're going to add that effect, like the folded page effect. So on a new layer, I'm going to switch to black, and using one of the drawing markers or the drawing liner to be specific, I'll just draw like a vertical line down the center. And then I'm going to move that, whoops, make sure it's a vertical line. So I'm going to hold it to lock it to the vertical line. Okay, next I'm going to turn on magnetics and snapping so that I could center this perfectly here, like that. And then I'm going to add Gaussian blur about 5%. There we go. And then I'm going to add a new layer and use an opaque, maybe this bold opaque marker right here. Draw a vertical line, move it to the center, like that, and add Gaussian blur. Maybe about 19%. Okay. And then I'll just play with the opacity of these two blurs and adjust it until it gives like a more realistic folded page effect like this one. Okay. I'll just merge those two and maybe lighten this a little bit more. There. Okay. But this is supposed to be fold, right? We have some dots there. So I'm going to select that layer and I'll just erase this line of dots. So using the rectangular selection, I'm going to select the center dots. Whoops. Okay. Select the center dots. Select the center dots. Select the center dots. And erase using 3-finger shaking motion. That looks better. And I noticed that this is cropped on the side. So I want to center everything. That's just me of wanting to center everything. This step is non-optional, but I just want to move this down to the right a little bit so that it's going to crop out that extra dots. And then I'll just center everything like that. There. Okay. That looks good. So let me just rename these layers so that it's going to be easier for us to find things later on. So this is the fold shadow. This is the dot grid. And then this is the paper texture. There you go. So if your iPad is smaller than mine, you might not have as much layers as I have. So for these, you could just merge these two layers together to preserve layers. But for me, I like to use as many layers as I can so that each part or each element is going to be easy to adjust later on if I need to. Now that I have my page already set up, the next thing to do is start to decorate or design my journal spread. So I'm going to start with a photo. So on a new layer above the fold shadow, let's go to the brushes and look for the Polaroid. Okay, let's use the mini. Okay, so it's supposed to be white, but I'm using black for now because it's going to be easier for me to see. Because if it's white, then it's going to be hard for me to see with a white paper background. So right now it's black. And as you can see, we want to keep things as realistic as possible. That's why, if you notice, like when I stamp this Polaroid, it's slightly slanted. So it's not perfectly, perfectly like angled so that it's gonna have that sense of imperfection and it's gonna look natural. Okay, so and after that, below that, let's add a photo. So insert a photo. Okay, I think this is the photo that I used. There you go. So I'm gonna position that inside my Polaroid. That let me just adjust this. There you go. Okay. After that, I'm just going to erase the excess. I'm using selection or rectangular selection and then just erasing it or erasing the excess like that. Okay, I think I'm all good for this. So let me just invert this and I think we can merge this. So yeah, here's the Polaroid. And then we want to make this more realistic, right? So let's just add a shadow below it. So I'm going to duplicate that, select the bottom duplicate, change the hue saturation. I'm going to adjust the brightness down to 0 so that it's going to turn completely black and then transform and move it slightly down and right like that. Okay. And then I'll just use Gaussian blur, maybe just add about 2% and then bring the opacity all the way down to maybe just like 10%. So it's just super light, but still it giving that effect that, or it's making your Polaroid look like it's placed above a flat journal. Okay, let us now add some effect to it. So right now it's just solid white, and to give it a more natural effect, let's add like a crumple to it. So let's create a new layer on top of it and use like this large crumple stamp it like this. And then maybe let's just move it around until we get like a nice positioning of the crumple like that. Okay. And after that, let's turn on clipping mask. It looks too strong right now. So using the opacity, let's soften the crumple by reducing the opacity like this. Okay, there we go. So if you're happy with this and you don't want to make any more changes, you can merge those two together there. So we now have this, oops, this Polaroid. Okay. Now let's decorate this. Normally Polaroid has this space, right, for you to write something. So it's up to you what you want to write and writing, what writing brush or what drawing brush you want to use. For me, since I do calligraphy, I'm going to add a nice calligraphy of the words spring in Japan. So on a new layer, let me choose maybe like a pinkish color, like this one right here. And I'm going to use one of the brushes here. This is the brush pen. And then I'm going to write spring in Japan. So you can create this in your own style. I'm just going to write it in my personal style. That is Spring spring. Like that. Let me do that again. No. Yeah, there we go. I think I like that. JP Japan. There we go. And in is going to be inside. Add serif. There we go. Spring in Japan. Oops. Now let me just center this and maybe make this a bit smaller. There we go. Okay. One more thing is I'll just change this to multiply so that whatever is below it, it's going to be visible. There we go. Spring in Japan. All right. Next is we're going to add some washi tape. So it's like we're going to attach this Polaroid to our journal page. So on a new layer on top. But before that, let me just group these three layers, group, and rename it to, let's just show the keyboard. Oh no, I don't know how to use Apple. Okay, rename it, hide keyboard. Okay, there you go. Rename it to Polaroid 1. Okay. And then on this layer, let's start to add our washi tape. So for the washi tape, I'm thinking of using blue this time. I don't know, but feel free to choose any colors that you want. So let's find our washi tape brush here. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, you could just simply use the stamp like that, or you can use the washi tape to do like a liner thingy. So it's up to you. So let's make this slightly smaller. There. So it's up to you how long or how short you want it to be and in what direction. But what we want is we want to avoid like super horizontal one, like a super horizontal washi tape because it's gonna look more unrealistic. So maybe like this, and let's just move it down a little bit here. So about, okay, that looks perfect. I kind of want to move this up just a little bit. There. Okay. You know what? I'll just stamp the other one so that the sizes are going to be the same. So I'm going to select this and erase. Then the stamp, there we go. Bit up a little bit. Perfect. Okay, now that we have our washi tape, next thing is to design our washing tape. So we're going to add a new layer on top, switch to white, and choose one of the patterns. So I think let's start with washi pattern 2, like that. But make sure that the layer is clipping masked like that. So as you can see, from like a boring plain blue washi tape, we instantly designed it with a simple pattern. And for this one, maybe Washi pattern 6. There you go. So if you want both of these to have the exact same color, it's fine. If you want to make it look more interesting, let's just select one of the washi tapes and then change the hue and saturation. Maybe lighten this and lower the saturation a bit. There you go. So that the two doesn't have, so that the two don't have the exact same shade of blue. But this is just a minor detail. And let's also give this a small shadow or a light shadow. So I just duplicated that. Hue and saturation with brightness turn to 0 and move it slightly down like that and add a little bit of Gaussian blur. Then let's bring the opacity all the way down to 10%. There you go. Now it doesn't look too fake and too flat. Okay, so for this one, if you're happy with this, if you don't want to change anything, you can merge them. So it becomes one layer. Now let me group this and rename this to, oops, rename this to Washi Tapes 1. Tape. Now, after this one, let's add a piece of paper underneath, like a piece of paper with like a torn paper edge and with some print designs on it. So let's create a new layer below the Polaroid and let's choose a torn paper edge effect. So maybe this one. No, this one. I don't know, maybe this one. Okay. It's up to you which one you want to choose. Okay. And then I'm going to choose like a purple for now. And then just tap. Oh, that's big. Okay. This brush is pressure sensitive. So if you press really hard, it's going to be really, really big like this. Or if you lightly tap, it's going to be smaller. And I mean, you could always adjust the size or the brush size anyway. So we have this. I just rotate that, maybe position it like this. I'll just move the Polaroid and the washi tapes. Maybe here. Perfect. Okay, so we have this. Let's just adjust the color. I feel like it's too vibrant. So let me bring the saturation down and the brightness down a little bit. Let me try to change the color. Now I think I'll give it like a darker, or like a duller fuchsia color. Like that. I think I'm happy with that for now. Okay. Next thing is we're going to stamp in some print design so it's not too plain. So let's create a new layer and change to maybe the color white and go to the page text stamps and choose let's try this script. Yeah, this vintage script. So I'll just stamp it like that and rotate it, but let me just turn on magnetics and snapping first so I could rotate it to like a specific angle that I want. Like that. That looks nice, right? So make sure to turn on clipping mask so that it's gonna lock onto the bottom part or the bottom layer. Okay. I feel like the white's too strong, so let me just bring the opacity down just a little bit, maybe 90. Okay. And then let me duplicate this piece right here, the torn paper piece, and bring the bottom part down, like the brightness down or higher, or maybe just max it. Okay, now I think it didn't do anything, but Normally, if I use like a lighter paper color, I'll add like a duplicate below with a darker color so that that torn paper effect is gonna have a nicer overall look. So yeah, here we have the paper. So let me just group these two and rename this torn paper page. There. I normally don't name my layers, but I feel like it's going to be very confusing. I mean, it's going to be harder for some of you to follow if it's like if the names of layers are just layer 1, 2, 3, and it's all over the place. So I'm trying to like practice this to make it easier for you to follow along. But anyway, the next step is let's further decorate this piece right here. So on a new layer, let's add some realistic stamps to it. Okay, so here under the alphabet and journal stamps, we have this typewriter and number stamp. So let me choose maybe purple because I remember my mom has this purple stamp pad that she uses before. So yeah, I'll just use this because it feels more realistic to me. And then I'm going to use a selection tool to manually piece the numbers together. So for this one, I'm gonna piece the date. So I'm moving 0, 4 because I think I took this photo on April something. So yeah. And the beautiful thing about this is that when you're going to piece it together, the letters are, or I mean, the digits are not going to be super aligned and have consistent spacing because that will make it look very unnatural. So it may require extra work, but adding each letter or each character manually gives like a more handcrafted feel to it. So I'm going to move the period right here. So I don't know the exact date. So maybe April 5, let's just say it's April 5. Since I already have, or I already used the 0, so I'll just stamp another one here. Oops. And then get another 0 because I need the 0. Next. Let's just say it's April 5. And let's get this dot right here. Then 25 for 2025. There you go. And then I'll just select these and erase. There you go. The date, so I think let's put it here, but make it smaller. Like that. Like all stamps have the habit of switching it to multiply. So it's going to adapt to the paper, like the texture of the paper. Okay. And then let's add some more stamps on a new layer. I want to add some stamp designs right here. Like for this one, yeah, I think this stamp that says bloom where you're planted, which I think is perfect for the photo. So on a new layer, I'm going to use green because I remember I was in a train station somewhere in Japan and the ink pad is green for some reason. So yeah, I'm going to use green, but feel free to use whatever color you want. So I think I want to stamp one here and maybe stamp one here. Okay. So the reason why I am stamping, like overlapping the stamps, I'm not stamping it in like a clean place is because whenever you overlap elements, it's kind of like tying them together, making them one. So that's the reason why. And then for this one, switch to multiply as well. Let's select these two, rename the group to stamps. There you go. Okay, that looks nice. And lastly, let's just add some minor decorations here. So on a new layer on top. Okay, not on top. Since this is going to be sketched, I'm going to add it below the fold shadow layer so that if ever I sketch something here, it's going to get that folded effect as well, like the shading of the folded effect. So that's why it's there. Now let me go to my drawing brush. So feel free to use any brush that you want. So I kind of want to use this drawing liner. And I'm gonna draw some flowers. Since this is Sakura season, so let me just choose yellow. Oh no, let me just use pink first and draw like some 5 petal flowers like this around it. So it could be just at random. Adding these like hand-drawn elements, even if they're not perfect, it's gonna make your work look more handmade. So I just want to mix in different sizes of 5 petal flowers like that. Maybe one last here. There we go. Okay. And another easy way to give it a realistic effect is by using this shading brush right here to color the inside. Like that. Okay, this one, let's add a bit more here. You see that? It's an easy way to add that shading effect without having to spend a lot of time manually shading it yourself. These are just some minor details that adds up and adds to the overall aesthetic of your work. There you go. And then on a new layer, I'll just draw like a circular center. Like that. This is just like a fun, quick doodle right there. Okay, now I'm going to change the opacity, I mean the blending mode to multiply. And then I think I'm gonna play with the lightness. I want to make it lighter just to balance the design elements a bit more. There you go. I think that looks nice. So we have this space right here. And what I want to do is I want to add the word Tokyo, which is the name of the city. And I want to add it, I'm going to draw it in like a tall sans serif style. And I'm going to cut it like, it's going to start here and it's going to end here on top. So before that, let me just group these two layers and then rename it to flower sketch. There we go. Okay. On a new layer, and let's choose like a different color, or maybe like lighter pink or reddish pink here. And we're going to use the translucent bold markers. So you have square and rounded versions. I'll show you the difference. So if you tap the square, it's literally a square. If it's round, it's literally rounded. So let's start to draw our letter. So Tokyo is like a vertical bar and horizontal bar for the letter T, like that. So I really like this because it overlaps and gives you that realistic marker texture, right? Next is O. O is going to be rounded, so I'll just switch to the round marker, oops, the translucent one, and then draw like an O, like that. And then position it maybe here. Then I'm going to cut half of it and move it all the way down, but make sure to turn on magnetics. So you can move it down, it's going to be on a straight line, like that. And then I'll just connect these two, move it. So if you don't position it perfectly, it's fine, since the more mistakes, the more handmade it's gonna look like. So next letter is letter K, so I'm switching back to the square, like this one. Maybe like this. K is like that. Next is Y. Y is, I can draw a circle too, like this. but erase the half. And using the square marker, let's complete the letter Y. Okay. And for the O, let's just duplicate this. Let's select the O, duplicate it, maybe just rotate it so that it doesn't look exactly like that. And then to make our life easier, there. Okay, I think I'll just move the Y a bit further. Oops. Let's make sure we merge those two. Just move it to the right a little bit. There you go. So I want to cut this, but let me duplicate this so that I could preserve the original design. So what I meant was I was going to cut like the top half of this and then move it here. Let me turn on snapping. So it snaps to the bottom. There you go. Try to center it. And then select the other half, move it up like that. Yeah, so basically it's just like a simple and easy design. Then after this one, I'll just lighten it because I feel like the red is a bit too harsh and adjust it a little bit to make it look more purpley. There you go. So far, this is what we have. Okay. I hope I hope you're enjoying the process so far. I'm really enjoying like layering these different elements together and seeing it come together slowly, one step at a time. It really feels like working on a journal page on paper where you add one element at a time. So the next step is to add another photo here. So I have another photo that I want to add to this journal spread design. So let's insert that photo. This one, a closer look or a closer shot of the sakura flower. Let me just bring this up above the fold shadow right there. Okay, so if we add it like this, it's gonna look very digital, right? It's just super rectangular. So let's give this like a torn effect. So what you can do is you can just use an eraser and use one of these torn eraser and then just cut it like that. Or if you want a more interesting shape, so instead of an eraser, let's create a new layer below and let's choose another torn paper stamp. Maybe this one. Like that. Okay, let me just hide this image for now and use this. Maybe position it. Okay, I'm gonna remove magnetics so that I could freely rotate this however I want. Maybe like this. Okay, and then let's just clipping mask this and move this and resize it. And adjust this to maybe here. Yeah, that looks nice. Okay, I think I'm happy with this, so I'll just merge it like that. So it becomes one element or one layer. So I think I undo this, so I'll just move this all the way up because I don't want this to be under the fold shadow. So for this one, let's add a little bit of shadow below it. So here's the duplicate. So I'm gonna change the bottom part to completely black with hue saturation and brightness to 0. Move it slightly to the lower right and a little bit of Gaussian blur, which is about 2%. And you know the drill. Bring the opacity down, all the way down. There you go. And after that, some washi tape. So on a new layer on top, I'm going to change to, yeah, this light red color. And where's my washi tape? Okay, here. I think I used 1 and 3 earlier, so just to make things different, I'm gonna use number 4 next. Here we go. Yeah, like that. That looks nice. And then 5. So for this one, these stamps are horizontal-ish. So maybe you need to rotate this to stamp it to the right angle that you want. Okay, this looks nice. I think I'm gonna lighten this because I feel like it's too strong. Like that. Perfect. But the other one, let me make it darker again. Okay, just give it some variety. Then let's design it on a new layer, turn on clipping mask, change back to white. And for this one, maybe pattern 9, like a lot of dots. And for this one, here we go, flowers. So just a quick tip, sometimes the patterns may be too small or too big for you, depending on the canvas size. If you want to adjust the size of the pattern, you have to edit a brush, go to green, and change the scale. If you want to make it bigger or smaller. Yeah, that's what you have to adjust. If you want to make this look nicer, you could recolor that. So maybe let's recolor this to like yellow. Is it gonna look okay? Yeah. Continue filling, and I'll just tap all of these to make them yellow like that. And I'll just grab my normal pen now, and then color the center white. There you go. And then I'll just merge these. Here we have our photograph design. Okay, as I mentioned before, I like to layer things. So let's add a new layer and let's layer a stamp. So let's go back to the stamp design and choose another one. Maybe this one. You did great. Let's use maybe a red stamp. There we go. Oh, it's too bright, too dark. Okay, somewhere in between. There you go. You did great. And then change to multiplier. Okay. So for the washi tape, I feel like I forgot to add some shadow. So I'm duplicating it, selecting the bottom layer, changing it to black, then move it slightly down, a little bit of Gaussian blur, and reducing the opacity. There you go. Now let's just group everything. Let's just put everything in a group and then rename it to second photo. Oops. Photo. Okay. There you go. We are almost done. So for this one, I'm gonna add some text here, but instead of just writing, I remember that I recently went to like a shop and they have these stamps, like alphabet stamps, and you have this. I mean, you can just stamp whatever you want, and it's really fun to spell out certain layers, and it's a really nice effect because it's very uneven. It doesn't feel or look like it's been typed down. So that's what we're gonna do today. So on a new layer below the fold shadow, yeah, let's choose, I'm gonna use blue, okay. And then here at the stamp, we're gonna spell in our letter. So it's Showa Kinen Park, so we need the letter S, H, O, W, A, K, I, N, E, N. So it's like I stamp in the entire alphabet. I should have just used this, the complete one, make my life easier. But anyway, it's part of the fun. So let me spell it. So select the letter S, move it here. Next is H. Let me just move the entire thing higher, like here. H, So again, the imperfection is what we want. Show, show, Kinen, K-I-N, E is right here. And I already used the N, so let me just stamp in another letter N. Get the letter N. Kanen, Kinen. And I'll just select everything else and erase. There we go. Showa Kinen. That's the name of this park. If you love to bike, definitely have to check out this place. Anyway, Showa Kinen Park. For the word park, I want to mix in a different style. So I'm going to add a new layer. Oh, but before that, make sure you switch or turn the blending mode to multiply, because this is just a minor effect. So with multiply, you're going to see like the dot of the, what do we call this? You're going to see the dot of the paper texture. Okay. If we don't have it multiply, it's just going to look like the ink is opaque. Well, if you use a stamp pad, stamp ink is opaque, right? So we want to make sure we turn on multiply so that we don't get this. We get this. Okay. There we go. And for the word part on a new layer, I'm going to switch to my Extra Flex fountain pen. So I recently started using fountain pen and I'm loving it. I love how the ink looks. So I'm going to use that here. And since I'm into calligraphy, I'm using this Extra Flex so that I get both thick and thin lines with one stroke. But if you want to do it in a different style, you can use like a feathery fountain pen like that and a fine fountain pen. It's up to you. Okay. The park. Yeah, I'll make it something simple like this. Maybe make it bigger. Showa Kinen Park. There you go. So that's the place. And I'm going to leave this space for me to add in my journal notes or like write about the day or write about whatever I want to write. So for this one, if you have, I mean, if you're confident with your handwriting, feel free to write it as you would a normal journal, like a physical journal. But for me, my handwriting is terrible. Like, I feel like if I use my handwriting, it's going to ruin the entire piece. So since we're doing this digitally, we have the option to type it down. So that's what we're going to do. But the problem is if you type it down, it's going to look very like a font. It's not going to look as organic or as natural as the other elements of our spread so far. So I'm going to show you like a quick, like a little technique that you do to make your type down text look less computerized, if you know what I mean. But of course, it's not gonna look exactly like handwritten because there's so many imperfections and inconsistencies when we write by hand. That's what we're going to add into our, what do you call this, our design or our words. So I have prepared like on my notes of my day. So I'll just copy that, copy, and then go back here and I'm going to add text and then paste everything. Where's paste? Paste. Here you go. Allow paste. Okay. So it's everything. So I'm going to select all, change the font size all the way down, and then make it align right like that. Okay. Next is I'm going to choose a handwritten font. So if you have other handwritten fonts on your Procreate, feel free to use those. But I think I only have the Bradley Hand. here on my Procreate. So I switch to that, and I'm going to increase the size a little bit, to maybe 20. And I'm going to adjust the left and right borders or boundaries like that. Okay. So I'm just adjusting the font size and the leading. Just to my personal preference. Okay. I think that's okay for now. Let me just bring this down, maybe here, like that. Okay. Next is there are some text overlapping, right? So let's go back and edit this text. And I'm just going to select that. Where's my keyboard? Here you go. Here. I'll just click return. So it's going to move it to the next line. Through is going to be cut. So I'll just put a hyphen and enter. Tint it down. Enter. Here you go. Clouds. Maybe return. Return. After petals. Pat. There you go. Okay. That looks nice. I think I'll just make the spacing. So I'll select all. So the leading, I'll just try just 2 pixels to move everything up. No, maybe 1.5. Let's try that. Yeah. I think this looks good. So let me just move it a little bit here. Perfect. Okay. Right now, it still looks like, I mean, it's very obvious that it's printed, right? So let's add some texture to it. So before that, let me just rasterize this. Okay, let me duplicate first and then hide the original and rasterize the duplicate just so that we still have that saved because I always like to preserve my layers, my original layers. Okay. Next is we are going to add some texture. So here under the shading brushes and stamps, you have a lot of textures. We'll use the painted shader stamp 1. So let's just stamp it on a new layer in black first so that we'll see how it looks. There you go. Let's resize this to cover our entire text right here. Let's clip and mask and see what happens. Okay, it looks really, really black, right? So let's try something. Okay, remove clipping mask. Let's bring this all the way down. And then clipping mask our text to this layer. And we're going to invert this texture layer to make it completely white, like that. See that? So you see like some of the letters are fading now, okay? But let's switch this to multiply. Let's duplicate this and merge those two so that the lightness is going to be lessened. Okay, there you go. Okay, next step. So now we have these faded effects that will help with that will help a little bit in making your work look more realistic. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to use Liquify to add some inconsistencies to this, okay? So we're going to select our text layer, switch or select Liquify, and pinch. Make sure the size isn't too big, so around 20% will do. So if you hold onto that, do you see that? It's going to pinch that text. So it's going to make it, I mean, it's not going to It's gonna make your work look more imperfect, right? So that's what we're gonna do. We're just going to like move our pen around, like stopping like a split second on some parts, like that. So it's gonna pinch some of the letters so that it's not gonna be exactly the same. Okay. This is before and after. Let's do that to some of the other texts. So yeah, this takes a little bit of time, but you want to make it look like we want to make our work look more natural, right? So we need to add imperfections. Okay, let's continue to use liquify. Yeah. Now that now we have the text in different sizes. Okay. Next, let's go back to liquify, but instead of pinch, let's use expand. So let's do that same thing. Now our text is more uneven than it was before. So you now have like some letters or some words are gonna be bigger and some are gonna be moved, which it's kind of natural for some people. Like for me, whenever I write, my letters are not consistent. Some of them have different sizes. Yeah. So basically this is what we're doing. But of course, we don't want to expand or pinch it too much. Otherwise, it's going to look too unrealistic. Okay. The last thing we're going to do is we are going to select some letters and move them around. Right now, everything's aligned. So we're going to try to make the alignment different. So we can select one word at a time and move it up like that. Maybe select these words. Oops. Select these words again. Then move it to the right a little bit. Select this. Select one word. Move it down. Then move it there. Or maybe move everything like that inside. Like that. These two. So it's just randomly selecting one word or a few words, then just moving them vertically, horizontally to the like moving up, oops, moving it up, moving it down, just to create some more inconsistencies to make it look more natural. Yeah, but if you're writing your journal entry from scratch, you don't really need to do this step. This is just for people like me with not so nice handwriting. Yeah, you see that? If you move it around now, it looks more like organic compared to this one where everything's like super aligned. So we're going to do that here as well. So it'd be select some words, move it up, we move it to the left, select some more words, move it to the right and up, make a word, move it down, select a different word. Yeah. So we're just creating artificial inconsistencies. Let's move this a little bit so it's not too far. Maybe sort like this. Put this up a little bit. Move this. Move these to the right. And so these are just random. I'm just picking things at random now. There you go. We're just trying to break the pattern because we don't want when people see this, we want people to trace like the line of text. Sometimes you can even like select the entire 2 lines and then maybe just move it down or up. There you go. Okay. I know some of you may think that this looks very fake. Like the inconsistencies look very fake, but when people look at it as a whole, it's not going to be too obvious if they look at it as a whole. So it's fine. When you just zoom it in here, you see this word and the trees and you see the E's are bigger and the D is bigger. So that's what the pinching and the expanding did earlier. If you zoom it all the way in. Yeah. There you go. Okay. I think I'm okay with this. I'm happy with the number of inconsistencies here. As you can see, this is the before, it is after. Big difference, right? Even if it's like typed down, it still feels a bit more organic. And then lastly, let's just do one more little finishing touch. Okay, let's highlight certain words. So on top, let's create a new layer on top and choose a highlighter color. Let me choose like a light pink color like this. And then I'll just use the normal brush. Maybe it is bold, opaque, square marker. And then just, oops. Yeah, bring it below. Okay, make sure you add the layer below like that. Okay, or maybe I'll just use a translucent one. Yeah. Okay, just highlight some words like the petals dance in the wind. I don't know, just random. Picnicking, sakura trees, chasing bubbles, random. I don't know. Body relax. Wow. Fluffy, delicate, and impossible to recreate perfectly. Remember the feeling. There we go. Feel like it's too harsh. So let me just lighten this. Lighten the highlighter. Make sure switch to multiply for the blending mode. There you go. So that's how you create this beautiful layered journal spread. So again, we started with a simple, no, I mean, we started with the background, setting up the pages that to make it look like a journal spread with a dotted grid background and the shadow of the fold where the journal or the fold of journal is. And then we added the elements one at a time, like the Polaroid to like the lettering or the calligraphy here, the washi tapes, the stamps, the torn paper with some sketches and more stamps for the date and like the lettering of the place that has this really nice marker, realistic marker effect. And also, yeah, some stamps and more calligraphy and more torn paper, some washi tapes, and making the text. So, oh, there's one more thing. Well, just one little detail. So with these journalings, red designs, it's nice to add like ink drops or ink smudges. So let's just quickly add one of those. Let's look for this one, the Tokyo layer, and on a new layer, let's just add like a smudge, just a little smudge. This is too strong, but let's make it multiply and make it give it like a closer color. There you go. Make it smaller, a little bit smaller. Yeah. I know there's just like a minor detail, but I think it still adds to the overlook. Okay. There you go. So yeah, if you recreated this piece exactly, congratulations for creating a beautiful journal spread. If you personalize this with your own photos, with different text, that's amazing. And yeah, if you want to share your work with me, I would love, love, love to see your work. I'd like to see how you're going to use this journal kit in your own projects. So for that, let me just show you some other pieces that I've made. So this one is like a black and white theme with halftone effects for the images. Yeah, as you can see, these are just same thing, basically the same elements like papers and like images, washi tapes, stamps, calligraphy, more stamps, and torn paper with these printed signs on them, and more ink smudges and ink drops. Yeah. And here's another one right here. Same thing. Washi tapes, papers, torn papers, stamps. Yeah, more images and writing. So yeah, that's how you create your own beautiful journal spread design. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below or type them down in the comments below. And yeah, I can't wait to see what you make. And if you want to get this pack, again, the link is going to be in the description. So thanks for watching and can't wait to share another amazing project with you in the future. So make sure you stay tuned and subscribe to stay updated with my future tutorials. Yeah, that's it. Have a great day. Thank you guys for watching. Bye bye.